What are some things you shouldn't do when you have ADHD? That's what we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what you do when you have ADHD or someone around you has ADHD. What shouldn't you do and what should other people around you not do, or what is just not helpful in all of this? The first thing to suggest is that you use the Scottie method when it comes to how you time how long your projects are going to take. And the Scottie method is, if you ever watch Star Trek, they would ask him, well, how long is it going to take to fix the engine? And he'll say, oh, it's going to take 6 weeks to finish the engine. And then he comes in and does it in 6 hours. And everyone's like, oh, Scottie, he's amazing. I know that some things just take longer for me to do. It really does. And then when you give yourself a little bit more time, a little bit more buffer time, you feel like it's a win instead of a failure. It really depends on the project itself. When it comes to me and podcasting and the YouTube channel, I don't know, it seems like something I'm really interested in and something that's very natural for me, and so I don't feel like it takes a lot of time. But there are other things that I'm not very good at. Writing, I am not a very good writer, and that usually is a struggle for me in any project I'm working on. Then the next question is, do you eat the frog or do you eat the cake? That means that if you have, let's say, a day, you're looking at your work day and you have some projects you like and some projects you don't like, do you eat the frog first, which means the hardest thing, the thing that's most difficult for you, get it out of the way. Just get it done and get out of the way when you just woke up, you're full of energy, you're ready to go, eat the frog. That sometimes works for me, and I'm sometimes very good at that. But I'm not much of a morning person, and my mental capabilities are better in the afternoon. I just think better in the afternoon. So there are times when a project is harder for me, I eat the cake first. Get a quick win in. Do something that you know you can get done, that you're going to be great at doing, and have a success. That will help you eat the frog later in the day because you've already had some good successes in your day. So it really depends on you, and it really depends on the project. Give you another example. I'm an extrovert. It takes me a while in the mornings to wind up. I do not do these videos. I don't do my podcast first thing in the morning unless I have to, because I'm just not animated. I'm not very energetic. I'm barely functional in the morning. So it's easier for me to get these kinds of things done after I've wound up a little bit. Maybe I go to the gym, I hang out with my friend, we get a chance to talk. Now I'm all energized and ready to go. The next step for you is you don't want to get yourself overstimulated. Distractions are a huge problem with people with ADHD. So if you have a lot of distractions going on, a lot of things that will pull you away. Again, a coworker asked me, well, how do you get through ADHD? He suggested that he has a trouble, that he gets on Amazon and he shops all day long and it'll drag him away for hours. How do you stop doing that? And the best thing to do is get away from the distractions. If you have to get a software app that bans Amazon or whatever it is that's drawing you away for while you're at work, or don't even have a device that has it on there, there's focus modes on iPhones. I keep thinking that I should do some technical videos to show you how to use some of this. But you can actually prevent your phone from even showing you Amazon or showing you YouTube during certain times of the day. Make sure that what you have going on around you is not distracting. Give you an example. I find I need stimulation. I need it, like I said before, interesting art, interesting things around me. So I have art, I have fun things, I have clouds on my ceiling, but they're not distracting. They're not something I could get engrossed in. So you have to balance that distraction with stimulation. Or I even have rules. I tell myself rules that if I do have YouTube on while I'm working or while I'm writing podcasts, it's something like a hiking video. It's something that is just crunch, crunch, crunch through the woods, beautiful scenery. It's not something that you're going to sit there and stare at for a long period of time. It's just a pleasant thing in the background. I also found music that works for me too. Classical music works really great for me. However, music with words, I can't even concentrate. I know what things engross me so much, I can't even go on anymore. So I found that video games are a huge lure for me. It is really easy for me to just get engrossed in a video game. And I thought I was better. I have quit video gaming for the most part, except for the funny little iOS games that don't really get that deep. And over Thanksgiving, my friend says, "Oh, you should play Diablo with me." So I fired up Diablo, I got it all patched up, and then I played for one night, and suddenly 8 hours was gone. And I just meant to go on for a little bit and then do mostly this podcast and trying to, get better organized and do better with the videos and learn how to do B-roll and all that kind of thing. The other part is you have to limit distractions when it comes to noise. I am very sensitive to noise. I can't handle loud noises. When I walked into church today, church was really loud, and I thought, I'm going to have to walk out and just sit in the lobby because it's too loud in here. Luckily, it moderated at the soundboard level when they actually started the service. But noise outside, trucks, snowplows, headphones. Headphones are going to be your friend when it comes at, so make sure that you don't let noise overwhelm you. Then the other part is that you can provide stimulation, again, without getting engrossed by having those fidget toys. There are apps out there that I used. One of them is called Fluid, I think. And it creates these liquidy colors. There's nothing really to do except press your finger in various places and make splooshy colors. That helps me when I'm nervous. That helps me when I just need a little stimulation, but nothing to get worked out into. The other part of it is that I knit. And I found that I concentrate better when I'm knitting something very simple. So I have projects like scarves and hats that are very, very easy. I don't have to pay that much attention to. And while my hands are busy just knitting this pattern, my brain settles down. I'm able to listen. And I remember I worked for that really hard company that everyone gets fired from. And I go to the staff meetings that were about 2.5 hours long. And I would sit there and knit the whole time. And I got yelled at by someone at some point, like, shouldn't you be paying attention? And I'm like, but this is how I pay attention. If I'm just sitting here and not doing anything, my mind is off into somewhere else. I pay attention by fidget toys, by knitting, that kind of thing. The other part of it is don't sit, if you can help it, in places that are going to overstimulate you. I know a lot of people who work remotely, go work in a library, go work in a coffee shop when they're feeling a little bit lonely. That would be the end of me. I would have so many distractions, I couldn't handle it. So I make sure that my work environment is in a more quiet place and not with people and other things going on around me. I remember even college, there used to be a couple different libraries. One was a serious library where they put you in little cages of all things, and then you could rent them out and then study. And the other one was called the social library, and everyone hung out in there and just talked. I couldn't handle it. It just was too much for me. And so I ended up not going to the library and instead going into places that were more quiet, but not so empty where you didn't have anything going on around you. So if I went into one of those little cages that was in the bottom in the basement, which a lot of people liked because it was amazingly quiet, I couldn't function down there either. So find out what works best for you. And then avoid wandering off. Sometimes if I would wander off to the lunchroom or something else, or, someone had something they wanted to talk to me, I would get distracted. And then I'd go back to my desk, and it would take me a little bit to get back into the groove of things. I had just my bottles of water sitting on my desk ready to use so that I'd have to get up less. Probably less healthy for me, but better for distractions. Don't feel like that when you're working on a project, you have to do it forever. There are timers that you could just set and say, for the next 20 minutes, I did this morning. I wanted to clean out one of my rooms, and I had been avoiding it. I said, you know what? You just have to do this for a half hour. And when the half-hour timer goes off, you can stop. And I did that today, but I've been doing it for the last couple of weeks. And sure enough, I got finished today. It wasn't as quickly as I wanted to do, but it worked. And by using the timer method so that I don't go into despair, because what you think is like, oh, this room is a mess. It's going to take me forever to do. I don't want to do this. And I'm just going to avoid it. And instead, the timer method helped me hey, it's just a half hour. Just a half hour, work on that room for a little bit. And it totally worked a little over time. Then, knowing that you have forgetfulness problems, don't just leave it up to the winds. Have checklists. I have a little door hanger that says things that I need to remember to take. I was supposed to take tickets to a concert I had later this summer that I was supposed to give to my friend, and I totally forgot it. But for the most part, it can work. And even so, it was funny. When I was hiking in England, I was talking to these World War II guys, and they were telling me as I was trying to make sure I had all my stuff before going back out on the hiking path. He said, back in World War II, we used to say body part, which I'm not going to say, spectacles, wallet, and watch. The body part rhymes with spectacles. And that's how we knew we had everything we needed. Do I have my glasses, my wallet, and my watch? I added and removed the body part from that saying and said iPhone. iPhone, spectacles, wallet, and watch. And I know that when I go into a changing room or I'm leaving for my friend's house, if I have those 4 things, I have everything I need. All right, the other part of it is don't feel like you're alone in this. Don't feel like you have to stand out there and just gut this up. You have your smartphone. It has a bunch of apps, reminders, notifications, focus modes that you can use to power through this concentration problem that you have. Don't just look at this as something that hurts you, but look at this as something that helps you too. When you're having focus problems, do something silly like I go through my emails. I try to sort my emails. I'm a zero box kind of gal. And so I sort all my emails out when I'm having focus troubles. It's a very easy, quick thing to do that doesn't require a lot of focus. But when I'm in that power focus mode, I take advantage of it. So don't treat yourself as, I have ADHD. There's a lot of things I just can't do. No, you have different modes. Take advantage of them when you get there. And then the next part of all of this is that you have to get away from thinking that you have to gut things out. That's how I got through a lot of my time. I just got gutted out, do the homework, do my thing, write my paper, whatever it is. And it was hard and it would exhaust me. And instead, what I found in the meantime is that I ended up taking the Gretchen Rubin, the 4 tendency test. And it's not scientific, but it taught me how I motivate. And how I motivate is by helping other people. And so now I always know what motivates me. So whenever I have a project and I have to get it done, I remind myself who is going to be helped by this project. I also changed my career in a way when I was in my 30s to make sure I had a career that helped other people. I work for doctors, nurses, researchers, clinical research people, staff who help clinical research people. And in a way, I think I am helping science defeat some of our worst diseases by doing these actions. It's not just me. I just don't need to go write this long paper that I don't feel like writing. I am helping people solve the world's worst health issues. And so I can tie myself into that, and that motivates me. It motivates me to get things done. I know that some of their reports that are necessary have to do with grants, major grants that they have to do. And if they don't get that grant information out, people will not be helped in this. So I try to do that too. Don't go around blaming yourself for things. You could get real negative. You label yourself, you blame yourself. I'm just ADHD. I can't get these done. Or, boy, man, I'm so lazy. Why can't... Self-criticism is getting you nowhere. If you are criticizing yourself, you are spinning like in mud in your car. It doesn't get anywhere. Don't even go there. You are who you are. Your brain works how your brain works. Use self-knowledge to get you over that hump. The next part is don't expect perfection. You are not a perfect human being. No one is a perfect human being. Do the job that is expected. In some cases, when writing I'm Six Sigma, I have project management skills, some of those documents go to leadership. I have to be perfect or darn near perfect on those. That's where I expend most of my mental energy on. But for the most part, other things don't have to be perfect. If you're trying to work up a plan for something, do the best you can. Figure out what is getting done and what is too much perfection for that piece. And if you're having trouble with perfection, run it by someone. I used to in college run papers by my roommate, who is a very good writer. See if someone can help you. See if you can run something by them. See if you can give them your ideas. The other part is don't compare yourself to other people. Everybody is different. Not just you. Everybody is different. Everybody has strengths. Everybody has weaknesses. My best friend, who is an amazing writer, incredibly detailed, tech is not her thing. So I help her with tech stuff. I help her socially and things where extroversion is needed. I'm the spokesperson for things. We work on the Buzz Blossom and Squeak podcast together, but I'm the face of it because I'm obnoxiously extroverted. We all have our things. So find out what your things are and figure out what climate you work best in. And in the end, don't ignore your needs. Make sure you're getting sleep, you're getting nutrition, you're getting exercise. If you need to take a nap, get a nap. For me, getting up and walking around is important. And so actually my Apple Watch helps a bit because it wants you to get up and walk around a bit. And it reminds me, hey, just take a break for a moment. Walk around. Go look outside. Go look at the window. Oh, there's a bird. Take a bit of a break. And so the watch, while trying to get me not to sit so long, is actually helping my brain not get stuck in mode. And the big thing is you don't want to get yourself overcommitted. I'm a nice person. I try to say yes to things. And I found that when I say yes to too many things, I'm not helping people. I am spreading myself too thin. I'm not useful to people when I'm overburdened. So stop saying yes to everything, set realistic goals, and learn how to say no. Even if you can't say no for yourself, say no because other people will be hurt by your decision to overcommit. Think about a family, a parent. And if the mom is saying yes to everything, she's saying no to her kids. So keep in mind that every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. And don't procrastinate in getting help if you need it. I am someone who never got to the point where I needed any kind of help with my ADHD. I figured out my own means, my own methods through reading books to get past my things. I have now a really good pattern of everything that I have. But sometimes you can't. And there's nothing wrong with getting counseling, taking up a life coach, looking for someone who can either help give you suggestions, tips, accountability, and just say, I need some help here in this. Or even just asking someone for help. Like I said, asking my friend who's a better writer in order for me to do it. I'm a tech nerd. I'm really good at talking to people. I love reaching out and talking to people at work. That's one of my strengths. And so instead of sometimes me writing an email, I just call them up on Teams and say, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, see how it's going, see how your work with this report. And sometimes they'll have additional questions and we can knock out another problem that they're having. But my strength is talking. And so I lean on that quite a bit. The other part of it is that I think a mistake that I did in the past with ADHD is I just decided I was a leaf on a wind. I don't like routine. I don't want to do routine. I don't want my days to be the same day after day. And I think that was a mistake because I have found now, somewhere in the pandemic, I got really into set routines. I think that was because like for 6 months, we were not allowed in this town to go visit other people. We couldn't go to a friend's house. And then suddenly I got into this routine. When I wake up, I do this, I do this, I do this. Then I spend the first hour and I got into this very good pattern where everything in my life was getting done. Instead of just getting up and walking around, I started creating little mini goals for myself. At 1 o'clock when I get up and walk around, I'm going to fill my water bottles. At 2 o'clock, and these are like 10-minute tasks, but I started getting into a routine and I started getting more productive and start getting things very squared away on a daily basis because my routines were actually causing me to remove willpower from me doing X, Y, and Z. And instead, this is my pattern. I get up, I do this right away. I don't even think about it. I don't need willpower. I'm going to exercise. That's the schedule. I'm on schedule. It took some of the stress off of me so that I could use my brain and my willpower for other things that were more exciting. The next part of it is that it's easy to get projects and work to be more complicated than they should be. I bought this book a long time ago. It was a science book, but it was called Complexification. I'm like, man, that is the story of my life. I can make everything 1,000,000 times more complex than they need to be. I pick the hardest software. I pick the hardest way of doing a project sometimes because I think I can handle it. And instead of just getting it done, I made it complex. Now, Jill is all about simplicity. I had this really nice setup for this chair and this room on videoing, and instead I replaced everything with swivels. Everything now swivels over, it stays in place, And instead of me messing around with settings for a long time, I can just swivel this around, boom, I'm recording. Don't make things so complex, even if you think you can handle it. Another thing that you need to avoid is not speaking up for yourself. If there's something that you're just not very good at, ask if someone else could help you work on that. There are people in my last job who were fantastic writers. I said once in a project, I would love to do the structure of this documentation. It was a technical document, and I could detail it all because technically I understood the software almost better than anybody else. But I asked, I said, would it be possible that one of the writers then could take my technical documentation and write it better? And the boss was like, yeah, of course. We have a whole team of writers. Of course they can help you. So don't be afraid to advocate for yourself or ask for help or see if you can work collaboratively on some project using the best of you and the best of that other person. If you're working with someone who has ADHD and maybe you don't have ADHD, there are ways that you can help that other person. And I have a best friend who is there for me, and she understands how I work and how I don't work. And so she has been a great help to me in all sorts of areas. She knows how I function. So the first part is don't label your other person lazy, disappointing, you could do better. Try to find out why things are, if you think something's not going correctly. You asked your spouse to clean the house and the house is still a mess. And he goes, see, did it. And then you're like, ooh, that wasn't really very clean. Find out why. But if you call them lazy, if you call them a name, it is going to cause fights. And then that person's not going to want to do it at all. I remember at one point, there were things that I wouldn't even touch. I'm like, I'm sorry. Every time I do it, it's not good enough. I'm not doing this anymore because I apparently am not good at this. The other part of it is don't give your person with ADHD too many tasks. So you can go in and say, hey, Jill, could you go ahead and clean the bathroom this afternoon while I'm working on the kitchen? Oh, sure. But then people will come up to you and say, oh, and also, could you go ahead and clean the garage too? And then could you also look at the basement? Oh, okay. So then suddenly I'd go run off to the basement and then I'll go look at the garage and now I'm overwhelmed with things and I'm not getting any of them done. If you give person with ADHD or autism too many things to do at the same moment, there will be a panic and they may do none of the things. But if you were able to issue them in order, what's more important, they'll probably do pretty well at it. Don't make people so rigid. There are times when I'm pretty good with a project and let's say, oh, Jill, go out and shovel the driveway. Okay, I'm shoveling the driveway. And you'll have someone come out there and say, well, why are you using this shovel? Use this shovel. Why are you doing it this way instead of doing it that way? I'm like, just let me do this. I'm not doing a bad job. Why does it matter to you which way I do it or which shovel I'm using? If you get too critical about that person or if you're too rigid about the way you want things done, now you've put me in a panic. I don't like doing this. I'm frustrated. And unfortunately, I probably would have done a better job if I had just found my own way. The other part of it is if you have someone who's ADHD, don't just order them around, but see if you can work on things collaboratively. Hey, could we clean up the living room together? It's been kind of messy lately. I'll help you out. We'll go ahead and do it. I know that my backyard is not the best backyard in the world. And if you're my neighbors, I'm really sorry for this. I'm just not a gardening person. And instead of going over here and saying, wow, Jill, your yard's all messed up. What if you said, hey, Jill, would it be all right if I came over on a Saturday afternoon and we worked on your yard together? Oh, I would love that. Working in collaboration is a great way to go. And that always helps because I'm actually pretty strong. I can lift a lot of logs and move a lot of things. I have a chainsaw. There are things I like to do and there are things I don't like to do. And if you work on them collaboratively, you'll probably get it done. You'll help your friend and it will get them done with something that they struggle with. And the other part of it too is just apologize. If you overreacted to something, if you made someone feel bad, apologize. It's okay. I understand my brain does not work like most people, and so I get that. And so if someone says, hey, I'm sorry I did that, I understand. The other part of it too is just ask questions. When my friend a long time ago and when I was in college, I had insomnia. I was getting 3-4 hours of sleep every night throughout my entire college experience. And then she says, you're really kind of lazy. You sleep all the time. I come back to the dorm room at 11 a.m. and you're sleeping. That's because I didn't sleep all night. That is because I went to class at 6:45. I got back here and I took a 3-hour nap. It was the only sleep I got today. I am not sleeping a lot. Ask questions instead of just coming to conclusions. You may not know what's going on with that person. And so really the best thing you can do is if you have someone with ADHD in your life, be willing to understand them, be willing to ask questions of them, figure out how you can support them. Particularly if it's a family member, you want them to thrive. You want them to have a healthy relationship with you. And that's the most important thing that you can do to help someone who has ADHD. The one thing that you can do to help someone when they have ADHD, we're all good and bad at certain things. And it's very easy for us to go to someone else who is not good at something we're good at and then criticize them. Why is this room always messy? Why do you live like this? Shouldn't you just clean it up? Just be really easy. It'll only take you an hour. I could go to someone's house and say, "What? You haven't backed up your computer in 6 months? That's just terrible. I know how to back up computers. You don't." We could all go that way. Instead, like I said, ask questions, see how we can help, instead of just piling on to that person. If you pile on to someone with ADHD, or I even think anyone that you just pile on, you're just going to make them feel bad. You're going to overwhelm them, and they're just going to feel terrible about it. And the next part is not to expect immediate change. People take a long time to change. This is not an ADHD. This is a people thing. And so you can't just say, "Hey, last week I said that you didn't mow your lawn correctly. Why isn't it mowed yet?" People can be critical with each other. My grandmother was a very critical person about everything. And she just expected immediate change. And people, not just ADHD people just don't change that quickly. It takes time to build new habits, new patterns, to learn something, to learn how to figure. Don't expect that someone with ADHD is any different than any other human being who's going to not change immediately. And remember, too, that if that person forgets dates, forgets every iota of a little dot here and there, understand that maybe they struggle on this project. They're not very good at some of these little minute details. So see if maybe you can help them find a different system. Maybe you can help them and say, "You know what? I'm pretty technical. I use an app called Todoist. That app has saved my life because I can write everything down in it." See if you can be more helpful instead of more accusatory. And the other thing is that I love it when people ask me to do something that's my strength. Instead of my friend coming and saying, "As part of this project we're working together in school, Jill, you're going to write a 9-page paper, and Bob, you're going to create a database system to store information as part of our project." Well, let me do the database thing. I'm really good at that. So don't forget that if you have someone you love that has ADHD, find out what they're good at and leverage it. Make use of it. Make use of their focus modes. Sometimes, like I said, when I get focused, I can really crank out a ton of work in a short period of time. And that's what I saw with that Holderness family. When they went on Amazing Race, she knew immediately when a task was something that was right up her alley and something that was right up the alley of her husband. She understood that his strengths and weaknesses with ADHD, and they worked together as a team to balance that out. And then also keep in mind that sometimes ADHD people can get depressed about their weaknesses. They've heard it a million times. I can't even begin to tell you how many times my grandmother said that I was lazy, I wasn't living up to my potential. And boy, when you say that to me, or if you indicate that to me, I'm kind of crushed because I've heard that all too long, and I've spent my life building on strengths so that I don't get into those ruts again. And if you just kick me there, it can kind of set me off. Just like with my lawn mowing, right? I am, again, not a big gardener kind of person. I don't enjoy yard work overall. And so I do enough so I don't get arrested by the city. But if you come over and you say, "Wow, you should really go around and weed whack, what are you doing all day long?" Well, I'm running 4 podcasts. I have 3 YouTube channels. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of things. Maybe that's not the thing you think is the priority, but for me, that's what I'm doing it. And another part of it is thinking that ADHD is something you'll grow out of. I think that my friend, initially when I was in college, thought that I would grow out of it. And it's not a growing out of kind of thing. You can grow into some very good habits, learn how to combat some of your ADHD problems, but you're not going to grow out of it. If you have a kid, help them nullify some of the bad aspects of their ADHD, help them learn how to lean into their strengths, but you're not just going to say, well, when are you going to grow up? That's not the way to go. And in the end, again, if you don't know how to help that person in your life with ADHD, ask questions, talk to them, see how you can work together on things. Maybe you can help your friend out on the parts that they're not good at. And it doesn't hurt to learn a little bit more about ADHD. There's some fantastic books. I mentioned about the pen holderness book I was talking about last week, ADHD is Awesome. That book explains a lot about how the mind of an ADHD person works. So if you love someone who has ADHD, read up, watch some YouTube videos, learn a little bit more about how they function. I think you're going to be surprised that when you have a good working relationship with someone with ADHD, we can be fun. We can be energetic. We can come up with creative solutions. We can be really motivated to help other people do amazing things. And so if you lean into what we're good at and we lean into what you're good at, we're going to have a great working relationship together. And if that person has gone to get professional counseling and now has like a treatment plan or knows a little bit more from a professional, be involved in that. Understand what their treatment plan is and be a supportive partner of whatever treatment they're getting. Learn a little about what the medication side effects are, what they do, and just understand that person a little bit better. If they're having some sort of reaction to the drugs and the medications, be supportive of them instead of going, wow, you sure got moody fast. Oh, it's my medication. It makes me kind of moody. If you want to have a relationship with this person, you want to be in this person's life, you can certainly have a relationship with them. And that doesn't mean you can't set boundaries, that you don't have your own health and issues to work through. But again, I think all of us have our own issues. We have our own struggles. We have our own strengths. And they're probably helping you through yours, just like you can help them with theirs. So in the end, I think we're about being here for each other. We all, like I said, have strengths and weaknesses. And how can you have and be a support to that person so that you empower them to be the best person they can be? They'll come back at you and help you become the best person you can be. All right, everyone, thanks so much. I appreciate you watching. Please remember that you can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have something to say, you can leave a comment in the chat. Please tell a friend, subscribe. We're going to move on now from ADHD. This, again, is going to be this kind of a channel where I talked about areas where I was failing in life and how now I have gone through each of these issues, strengthened myself, and helped myself to become better, do better, and actually thrive in my job, in my home life, and I'm a happy person. But not all of those are ADHD. We're going to talk about them one at a time. Try to give ideas where you have your life where you're just trying to survive and get into the thrive mode. How can you do better so that you don't feel like you're stuck in a rut, but you're actually moving forward in life? All right. Appreciate you watching.